My name is Kevin Boylan. I live in Bristol, UK, and I'm interviewing Bilhan Tuncel, who is a political expert on Kurdish issues and a writer for a number of universities. Kurdistan is a region of cultural and linguistic homogeneity that straddles the southeast of Turkey, the northern marches of Syria, and the northwest of Iran. Yet despite its common features, it is also very diverse in terms of politics, its social practices, and religious stroke secular allegiances. And it also contains various ethnic minorities. Kurdistan, however, has a distinct identity, as well as a history of oppression and persecution by the post-colonial nation-states that divided it up. In this first half, we will talk about Rojava, the Kurdish region of northern Syria that is undergoing a social revolution at present times, inspired in part by libertarian socialism or anarchism, as well as by Murray Bookchin's theoretical concepts around communalism and social ecology. It was the relative freedom enjoyed by Syrian Kurds since the outbreak of the Syrian civil war in 2011-2012 that made this experiment possible. To begin the discussion about Rojava, can we talk about, first of all, about theoretical base? Because as far as I understand, Abdullah Öcalan, while he was in prison, has been reading the books of particularly Murray Bookchin about communalism and social ecology, which also ties into libertarian socialism and anarchism. Could you explain?
After the Soviet Union went down, the real socialist system went down. Of course, there was a new investigation regarding how to build a new ideology, and so many fractions of socialist system in the Middle East was at the same path. After Mr. Öcalan being arrested by the global powers and kept in the prison in Turkey, he did go through many different research, academic research, and he come out with a new views of the socialist system, as you described. I think for a region like a Middle East, multicultural region, different beliefs and different ethnic minorities, it was quite good ideological aspects to develop, because in a harmony and in a peaceful way to keep the society living together, the justice, the equality is the most important factors. The socialist system itself, economically and politically, is the most successful and the most impressive ideology in the Middle East. But it is not far from the Middle East history, even when we go 10,000 years back to the society lives in the Middle East. It was a colonial life, and then by the age it comes to the private, different ideologies and different beliefs. The socialist system in the Middle East, while we are talking about the ecological balance in the world, it is quite impressive, it is quite important, because to keep the humanity and the nature in a peaceful way to live together, because Öcalan doesn't separate the nature from the humanity, from the human being itself. It is important to keep in a balance to make sure the human being gonna respect to the ecological balance of the world. The secular structure of the socialist system itself is important for the Middle East because if you remember the ISIS attack lately for the last few years, the mentality has to be changed in the Middle East. Secular mentality, it could be different ideologies, but the socialist system itself is a secular system. So in that manner, it is a very important ideology for the Middle East people as well. While we think all the factors together, it doesn't matter either Mr. Öcalan itself putting forward an ideology or someone else from any part of the world. But the ideology itself is a good, it could be a peaceful future for the Middle East people. In my opinion, it was the best idea for Mr. Öcalan to put forward his idea in a harmony way with the Murray Butchert, yeah, with the Murray Butchert. Sorry for my pronunciation.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was quite good. It is peaceful way as well. Like the dynamics in the Middle East are always in a conflict. If it was in a peaceful way to come to the political solution to sort out the problems in the Middle East in a harmony way, in a peaceful way, then I think these ideas would work in the Middle East. It was pretty good idea.
فلازمه شورش گوری طبیعتا جواکی بب. طبیعتا جواکی اگر ام ببیجن چرا شورش مصری تکچو سبب وی اساسیش برکو ديمقراطیت عدالت جواکی تدات نبو. شورش اگر اعتماد لسر طبیعتا جواکی نکه لسر دستلاداری و دولت بکه و او شورش تک بچن. خط سیامین اصرار کرنا لسر اخلاق جواکیه، اصرار کرنا لسر سیاست جواکیه، اصرار کرنا لسر ديمقراطية جواكية. ديمقراطية جواكي شتينه، عدالة جواكي تينه. دو سياسة شتينه، إرادة جواكي تينه. سه أخلاق شتينه، هفقرتنا جواكي تينه. فأف هرسي مرو كارب ببيجي قوري طبيعتا شورشية. شورش أساسا هجر با أساس نجر أو شورشية تكبش.
I've heard that that one of the first things which they did when they were setting up the independent region of Rojava was that they introduced a constitution. Could you enlighten us as to what rights the constitution enshrines?
We did mention about the structure of the society in the Middle East. If we go back to the history, come to today, there are so many different beliefs, so many different ethnic minorities, so many different cultures and nationalities in the Middle East. So it's not so easy to keep all these people together in a peaceful way in the Middle East. So the ideological and political beliefs should make a common sense so we can keep all these people together without conflict going on in the Middle East. First of all, I believe it is one of the most democratic and peaceful constitutional system in the Rojava right now. What is going on? Because
in the world
today, because first of all, it is not centralized, so it starts from the local authorities. It delivers the democracy to every single person who accept the system to live there, and it respect to the any other differences who are acting together with them, who are living together with them. So it's not just locally, it is also in the region itself, producing a perfect feature of the life to live together. Let's say Arabs there, Turks there, Syrians there, Assyrians there, Armenians there, Kurds there, so many different nationalities. And it is not centralized system based on the sovereignty of one nation.
Yeah.
It is rejecting one nation, one religion, one sexuality. It completely rejects the centralized Middle East system. It delivers the human rights and democracy to anyone without make any discrimination. So in that way, it is the most important constitutional system where we need to think about it. And practically, if we think it could be practiced in the Middle East or not, in that way, yeah, it could be, because it is already alive. It is living right now in the Rojava, and people are very happy.
Good.
The only thing in that case I do worry about the global powers and the regional dynamics. If they don't find a middle way to come to a political situation, political solution in the Middle East, I think it will be isolated and it will be under pressure by the global powers. And in that case, it is going to be too difficult for the Rojava to be alive on its own power. That's the most important factor. But the main things we can say is no sexual discrimination, no racism, not just one belief, one religion, one nation, one culture. So whoever live there, they can live equal and in peaceful way. So that's the most important factor in the Middle East.
مطلقا هذيك تشتكدرو هذيك تشتكي بجفنا
هبال ام وكجنكي كوم باراسنا خو بكن امد علي فكري دا خو بيش بيخن وبشرد علي تنظيمي دا جفاتي دا ودنها مثلا سلاح تشتكي مهمة اما سلاح جفاتي دا مثلا مالادة حارادة من كارن بيك بينن ام باراسنا سلاح مثلا سلاح مجيه جنيه إرادة جنيه دجفاتي دا تشاوا إرادة خو تمثيل بكي تشاوا مجيه خو راس بشغليني وتشاوا يدور خو تنظيم بكي نها مثلا ام توكي وكون بكن اف پروردا مديتي داليه باراسنا روادا وداليه هر تشتيدا ام واجنا دورا خو پروردا بكن وتنظيم بكن وجبر ام ببنا جفاتك راحت وكا شنغال المنوي هبال دفهم حاضر بن جهر تشتيره إيرو شورش مثلا أمهرن مثلا راجنا سلاح أريد دورة سلاح الويدا بس إيرو أمجي عسكري في جفاتنا جفاتي دا أم وكجن أم حاضرن جهر تشتيره
هرتش دايا كي بقريتش آبا كي بقريتش حيوانك هنا هو صدر شيء بقولش كخطاب الجن دفيه باراسل ما حمو كثير دفيه يعني الجنجي دفيه معلي هان معلي لو خينا مدري يخونا بيه مو حاجة كنا كي من كان راح راسي باراسنا ما في هالكسيه بجا إيرو أم خاصة جن باراسنا حاري خبكي إيه مالي خبكي إيه دردورة خبكي إيه صار خبكي هر تشتي بكي إيرو الجن بتراش في باري يعني باري جران سام ملي جنيا تشكو باري جران تشيا مالا فزاروكن هر تشتري ملي جنيا القاصين ها أب باري هني سام ملي جنيا نفس اللي كسكيتي خاصة الجن قالك بيتر خذ فكر ده كل بكي ومجي خذ شيء بكي راجي في باري.
If we move on now to the popular assemblies, you've already talked about them a little bit, but perhaps you could give us just I just want some indication as to how they're organised and how they work on a day-to-day basis. Very simple.
Well,
stuff.
it is very practical and it is very simple, as you said yourself as well. It starts from the very small local authorities till the very top one. So let's say in a town, they start from the streets or let's say part of the town. How it is divided, I don't know. I haven't got any clue about it, but there's a certain rules about it. So they can manage their own street. They got a local assembly in every street. So they come together and they run their own street. They run their own village. They come together, they run their own town. But it is not hierarchically centralized. It doesn't start from the top till down. So the decision which are made, it starts from the bottom till the top. The top authorities can't force them. So they make their own decision, and they are responsible to, at the same time, to control the central system itself as well. They don't let the central system become to very independent organization and make a decision on its own. So whatever the decision would be taken, it is taken by the local authorities and then going to the central authority. So that's the most important factor to make sure the democracy delivered to the every single people who live in the area, and no one's human rights being violated by the central system.
دەستپێکی ئەز خێراتاوەت خوازم شۆرەشا ڕۆژاوا نەش بۆ ڕۆژاوا تەنێ ژ بۆ هەمی مرۆڤاتیە و ژ بۆ هەمی ژنای ژ بۆ هەمی گەلای ئەم تشکی خوازن تشێکی خۆزایی وەک دەما جڤاکا ئەوەدی زلام ژن مافێ وان وەک هەبدوو بۆ هەر ئینسانێک کاربێ مەسەلەن ئانا ڕۆژاوا گەلێک جنسیات هەن گەلێک عەرقیات هەن لە جەمە هەر کەس کاربێ بزمانی خۆ بئاخەوێ بە عەرقا خۆ ئەو بکێ یعنی وەک ملەتێکی وەک هەوی ئەم چێکن تەبەقات نەمینە أو قالب جهاني نمينة براست يعني دماغ أم أزاتية خوازن نمش خوتني تخوازن أمش حميم لا تعرض خوازن دما أم برد نظامي سيستما برد دمون الزمان قد خبوا مشتغل بزماني خو أنا أم دبينن فاي هفالي مع عرب جي مرهنة سريان مرهنة ألمان مرهنة يعني قال لك من التيفي داري وك موزعية كي مرشب بي أفتشتي هاني مكارم بيجن.
Could you also talk about the role of women? I understand there's been some big changes here. I understand that 40% of the representatives on an assembly have to be women, and that the representatives of each assembly, the ones who go to the higher meetings, that it has to be one man and one woman. I've also heard that well, obviously the People's Protection Units, there's a big proportion of women in those units, and there's even a women's outfit, the YPJ, am I correct?
Yeah. In the Middle East history, sexual discrimination is the most important question. We got to question this. But none of the religion or none of the ideology so far accept the woman equal to the man in the Middle East. It never happened. So that's the new start. According to the ideological aspects and different fraction of the democracy, the woman should be part of the life equal as much as the man is part of the life. So if the man gonna fight, the woman can fight as well. If the man can manage to run a government, to govern a country, then the woman should be able to govern a country as well. So we got to accept the woman as a human being where we can socialize, when we can produce together, where we can have a life together in every single step of the life. So the woman, of course, gonna be in every single assembly, and must be equal with the man in every single step of governing the nation and or nationalities
Yeah.
and the Rojava itself as well. The woman 40% right now, but that's not like a case of it is always going to be 40%. It could be 60, 70%. It's going to be more bad. It's going to be better. It should be developed. It is new start, but it is going to be developed more and more by the
Yeah.
time.
ام سریده وکی آبوریه کی جواکی اساس دگرن کو جواک همو بشتاری وی آبوریه ببه و همان وقت لسریا آواکرنا کوپراتیفان و لسر کو ام بکانبن بخا تیرا خابکن یا اکتفاء ذاتی اساس بگرن ام آبوریه کی اساس دگرن.
The authorities have invested in agriculture and light industry. But the economic mainstay remains oil, which is sold on the black market. It's a useful revenue stream, as this mini-state doesn't levy any taxes, and the banking sector is non-existent. More problematic, though, is the attitude of other regional powers.
و همان وقت دبشا آبوریا جن یا سربخاده و هیروجی ام دکارن بیجن کو رغمی ام برگو کی 3 سال سر مهیه و هر چار دور ما بسياسته كي نزيك مدبن كو نهاي لبن انفتاح همشي اقتصاديا سياسيا.
I've heard that there's a fair bit of collectivization of farms and factories in the region. How does that work exactly?
Well, while we're talking about the Rojava, I don't think like the farms or the factories we are talking about in United Kingdom or in USA in Western countries. We're not talking something like a very big factories or the farms, something like that. It's very small farms and very small places where they can manage to feed themselves together. That's the very beginning step. But in the manner of living together, making things together, producing and living together, it's very important, because Rojava itself under the very heavy attacks by the Islamic State, and there are some regional dynamics. Regional states are involving in Islamic States, sponsoring financiers and training and arming them. So in that case, the people can't divide into many sexual or economical ideas to make it better. If they stick together, live together, produce together, it is going to be easy to fight back to the attacks which is coming to the Rojava system itself as well. Yeah, the mentality is perfectly fine. They live peaceful, they make things together in a peaceful way, and they consume together. So it's the best way to live together.
Also, I'm interested in the restorative justice system that was introduced in the courts, I believe.
Yeah, it's same as most of other countries. There are local courts and there are central courts, step by step. But most of it, it is not at the step of perfectly being organized. Again, there are some economical problems, and again, so many people moved from the area. So the public itself running the justice. If let's say if somebody steals something in Bristol area, and then let's say in Kingswood or in St. George, then the people in St. George or Kingswood, yeah, coming together, making a civil court, bringing him in front of the court, and making the decision. So the decisions are not very strict. So it's not like very strict, and the crime rates are nearly under 5%.
Okay.
You know, it's so low, even people doesn't need to go to the courts. Most of the problems gonna be sorted out same day if anything happen. So again, public. In every single step, public sorting out the problems themselves.
Yep.
So that's the very important mentality. That's the perfectly well developed manner of the justice. Without any force, the public find a solution to the problems and living together in a peaceful way. The justice system is not aiming to punish the people, to
Yep.
develop the people, to make sure if anybody do wrong, break the law, bring them back to the society, develop them. In every single organization, the most important factor to find a solution to the problems by the public. The police forces is not same as any other Middle East forces, like same as, let's remember, taxation without the representation. That was the big time American time to fight the British. That was the main reason. I still think it is the same reason in the Middle East as well. If the police gonna get paid by the people's tax, and then the police got a responsibility to respect the nation and to sort out the problem, not to use the violence against the society.
Yep.
That's the most important factor in the Middle East.
Okay.
It is not very big issue in the Europe. Very rarely it happens,
Yeah.
but it is very important issue in the Middle East.
Okay, just one last question for this part, and that's regarding what you see as the future. Do you see the ideas as spreading that what's going to make Rojava work is for the ideas to spread out beyond Rojava? And I also wanted to know whether you thought that whether the Turks might invade at some point, and or if things changed in the wider picture, whether the Assad regime, for instance, in Syria, might try and re-establish its control over the region as well.
Well,
Do you see that as those two problems as well?
In the Middle East, anything happens anytime. So it is very dynamic geography in the Middle East. It could happen, anything could happen. But right now, what I can say, to my knowledge, Rojava is good example for the Middle East. Not just for the Middle East,
For the whole world.
for the whole world. People are really inspired for what's going on in the Rojava right now. The main concern by the Turkish government regarding the Rojava is that the fact that Kurds can govern themselves in the Middle East and can make it better than the Turkish government, cannot be accepted by the Turkish government. That's the main issue.
Yeah.
The Kurds are the most effective who are fighting against the Islamic State in the Middle East. The Kurds are the only ones push them back. And Turkey had a relationship with the Islamic State, which has been evidenced and proved. The Turkish Home Office itself delivered the letters signed, signature on, delivered to the local governor to make sure the Islamic State not gonna have any problems when they pass the border. And that letter being published on the national paper, which is Cumhuriyet. And the journalist who did publish that essay and evidences, he's in prison now. He's been jailed now.
Yes.
So it is so funny, so dramatically funny. Not just Turkey, I think the Sunni, which is, we say, the Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia, and the Qatar itself, and the Turkey, they got a pretty well relationship, political and economical relationship to develop in the Middle East right now. And they're having a bloc which is against the Kurds as well.
Yeah.
So the Rojava is not making any harm for anybody in the Middle East. The only reason Turkey can't accept the Rojava, it is because the Kurds make it better than them. That's the main problem. Of course, the Kurdistan being divided by the Middle East countries as well, like Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. So liberation, freedom is not easy work for the Kurds. So the Kurds has been paying the price for the last 100 years since it's been divided. And it is 40 million Kurds living in the Middle East without the state. It's stateless nation, and Kurds pay the tax to the Turkish government. Kurds doing the national service for the Turkish government. The Kurdistan region, southeast Turkey, which is being isolated economically and politically, the assimilation keep going on. And the Turkish army, the second largest army in the NATO, and Turkey is a member of NATO and UN, and strategically allied with the Western governments. And same Turkey is responsible for the human rights and responsible for the ties in the manner of the human rights treaties. And no one say nothing to Turkey.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
My name is Kevin Boylan, and I'm continuing my discussion with Bilhan Tuncel, who is a political expert on Kurdish issues and a writer for a number of universities. In the first part, we discussed the Rojava social revolution in Syrian Kurdistan, and in this part, we will focus on addressing the current political situation in Turkish Kurdistan. As far as I understand with the situation in Turkey, it started when the HDP, which is the People's Democratic Party, that they started to gain seats within the Turkish Parliament, and then they had another election in order to try and get rid of that. They haven't got rid of it, but they have reduced it a little bit. And could you and since then, as far as I understand it, again the Turkish government has used this has forced a breakdown in what was originally a peace process going on with the PKK, and to reinitiate hostilities. I just wondered if you had any theories as to what Erdogan's agenda might be in doing this.
Well, I've been writing for the last 5 years. I believe that Erdogan got a secret agenda. It is a very well organized secret agenda. Not just Kurds. I think Erdogan used the Western powers as well, because Turkey is supposed to become a member of European Union. So there was a ceasefire between the PKK and the Turkish state. The Kurds was pretty well organized and the society accept the ceasefire and support the political peaceful solution, stand up with the Kurds, not just Kurds, the very important population of the Turks as well did support the ceasefire and political solution between the PKK and the Turkish state. Erdogan had a very strong beliefs if he could bring the PKK to the table, so he can beat the Kurds on the table. So he thought the political solution gonna be good political factor, which is gonna be giving him more strength to fight against the Kurds. I don't believe Erdogan never had a honest intention to have a political solution with the Kurds. So it took years and years for Erdogan to make sure he's completely on the power. So he used the European Union, he used the Western power, and he did play the same game with the Kurds. And it didn't work, because he called the HDP, People's Democratic Party, if you're brave enough politically, come to the election as a party. That was his own speech on the national TV to the population, Turkish and Kurdish population. We are ready for the political solution if HDP brave enough politically, come to the election as a party. 10% threshold. It's not a democratic way to have a competition in the election. And the Turkey, the only one, got a 10% threshold against the Kurds. So the People Democratic Party come to the election, had an early 13% of the votes, and the Democratic and Justice Party, the Erdogan's party, couldn't become to the power on his own. That's the case, and that's the reason why the Turkish state, the Erdogan's, changed his political situation into something different. That's the point when he didn't accept the elections. He didn't accept the elections. After the 7 June, the elections, when the Democratic and when the Democratic People's Party passed the 13% of the votes, got up 30% of the votes, that's the time in Turkey 400 officers been attacked, burned to the ground, civilians been killed, and these people were working for the HDP. They never involved in anything in violence. And right after that, if you remember, in Turkey, very massive attacks happened to the Kurds. In Suruç, in Diyarbakir, in Ankara. That was all a concept where what Erdogan was thinking, to scare Kurds and to criminalize Kurds and to terrorize Kurds and play the same war game on the Kurds and telling the whole world, I am fighting against the terrorism. He's playing a game where he can terrorize the people, and he's giving the message out, the Turkish state giving the message out to the European Union, USA, UK. I'm not fighting against civilians, I'm not fighting against my own population citizen, I am fighting against terrorism. That's clear enough.
Yeah.
The Kurds come to the table to find a political solution. the Kurds had a pretty well integration with the democratic morals and values. They did cooperate with the European Unions. They tried their best to support the government so the government can find a political solution. But what happened in the end? The Turkey changed their mind and started to terrorize the people. Many civilians been killed. And the funny thing is about, it was said they've been attacked by the Islamic State. How funny is it? Why the Islamic State in Turkey just attacked the Kurds and their political partners? Why? If they targeting Turkey, if they are against the Turkey, the Democratic and Justice Party holding loads bigger meetings, millions and millions coming together. Why they don't attack to the Democratic and Justice Party? They did terrorize the people to make sure people not gonna vote for the Democratic and Democratic People Party. The terrorism came from the state itself. So that's the main issue.
Okay. Now, with the ongoing repression that's going on in the Kurdish region of Turkey, with the activities of the Turkish army and police forces there, I've also heard that there's a new organization called the YPS, who have recently emerged, and are they related in any sense to the YPG in Syria? And are they anything to do with the PKK or not? I just want your opinion.
Basically, in the Middle East, all the Kurdish movements, one way or another, inspired by the PKK. The PKK mentality is in every single part of Kurdistan, in Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Syria. Because the nation is connected with the PKK. We either accept or not. The nation connected with the PKK, except the PKK. The PKK nationalized. Not just nationalized, multinationalized. Is a strong dynamic political power in the Middle East. So, the YPC, again, is not having any organic relationship with the PKK or with the YPG or YPJ. The attacks after the elections we were just talking about in Turkey, the attacks from the Turkish state start before the elections to the Kurds. And the Kurds was already investigating how they can protect themselves. The Turkish state doesn't run in a war on the PKK on the mountains just on its own. They run a war in the right middle of the towns, destroy house by house, they kill civilians, and they train military forward to the victory. So that's completely wrong strategy. That's completely unfair on the civilians. It is against the international human rights. It's against the it's a war crime. What is going on in Turkey right now? War crime. 35 days old baby being killed and held in the house fridge for days and days just because the Turkish army didn't let the family to bury the baby. The pregnant lady is being killed. The mother of the 11s being killed on the street And her body was in the middle of the winter this time on the street. I read an interview belongs to his son recently. He said he was so worried the wolves on the mountains gonna come down the town and eat the body. And that body was on the street. That mother was on the street for 7 days. 31 people right now in a house under the attack, and the whole Turkey, the writers, the politicians, the journalists are announcing to the government saying, look, these people are dying, starving, and we need to save them. Every time the ambulance is going to save the people, the Turkish troops shooting the ambulances. 7 of them died, and we don't know nothing about the rest in the house. So if you go to the Sur, if you go to the Cizre, in the Kurdistan, if you go to the Silvan, most of places is not any difference from the Kobani. The Turkish state took the revenge from the Kurds because they were good ally with the ISIS, Islamic State, and the Kurds pushed the ISIS back, and the Turkey Middle East political interest been damaged. That's the main issue. The Turkish government right now taking the revenge on the Kurds. The YPC is not an organization being built up, hasn't got any history. The YPC is people same as me and you protecting their streets, their homes, and their families.
It's an organic thing.
I would say it is a reflection. Every human being, even an animal, trying to protect themselves. So the Kurds haven't got any other option. Kurds ready to come to the political solution. Every day, everywhere, every single chance, asking for political solution. But the Kurds are alone in the Middle East. So once more, we call into the international powers. Where is the democratic values and morals? Where is the human rights? Where is your historical principles? How come a group, a nation who are fighting against the Islamic State on the ground, the most successful group, the secular group in the Middle East, your own partner not allowed to come to the peace talk in Geneva? What political views gonna explain this situation in the Middle East? So the world community, international community, should realize the Kurds are not in relationship with anything, even reminding the terrorism. Got no intention. So the attacks coming from the Turkish state, the Middle East states, and the Kurds has to protect themselves. Let's go before the PKK. Before the PKK, how many genocides happened in Kurdistan? The Turkish prime ministers, the Turkish presidents. I'm 36 years old. I witnessed myself on the TV many, many times. The Kurds fighting for freedom, and we did manage to massacre the Kurds 29 times. This belongs to the Turkish president who has recently died, Süleyman Demirel. So before the PKK, there wasn't before 80s there wasn't a PKK, but the Kurds always under the threat of genocide and always been genocides, always been massacred. So the issue is not PKK. The problem is nothing to do with the PKK. If there is not PKK, it is going to be something else, because people has to protect themselves. And 40 million people, even if in the Middle East, hasn't got a minimal progress. No statue, nothing. That's not fair on the Kurds.
Okay. Just if we finish off on one last question, which is just if people feel inspired to give your the movement, the Kurdish movement, some solidarity and support, how would you suggest that they do it?
If they want to like financially help the Kurds, we got an organization in London which is Kurdish Community Center. They can get the numbers from them and they can put the money into the bank, because there's the Kurdish Red Cross everywhere, and they can put the money into the account of the Kurdish Red Cross. That's what I would say. And in another way, they can have a solidarity with the Kurds in the European countries, put the pressure on the governments. We really need to put the pressure on the governments. Well, we should not be accept as it is, because the peace talks itself makes me very, very angry about the situation in the Rojava right now, because the Kurds in Rojava deserve more than any other dynamics in Middle East to take a seat in the peace talks. Just for the sake of Erdogan or for the sake of Turkey, isolating the Kurds is a big political mistake for the Western powers.
Yeah.
That political mistake needs to be corrected. We need a political pressure put on the governments and make sure they're on the right policies.
Okay, well, thank you very much.